All right, and we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about in our live stream. The first major thing that we're going to cover is another crypto stablecoin that has gone to zero. Okay, this time from another exploit in the DeFi ecosystem. It seems like every week or so we're talking about another DeFi exploit. So we're going to talk about in this video what happened, what you need to know, and how to keep yourself safe. We're going to look at a lot of the updates that have happened in this space since our live stream on Friday. Again, we do these live streams Monday through Friday on this channel. Just turn on notifications, subscribe. You're going to find out about it whenever we go live. We're going to take a quick peek at the crypto markets. I'm sure a lot of people are been watching their phone over the weekend, or maybe got up this morning and saw quite a bit of green on the charts. Bitcoin's back above $25,000, or was recently. ETH back above $2,000. A brief visit above there. So we're going to talk about that as well. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to know how to master blockchain step by step, start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so people jump in the chat. We got Cody, technically above Realty, David Stone, Automatic Beats. Let's see here, Dean, I'm saying that right. Dale, T-Share, Eric, Jay Lee, Izzy, Kirk, Tales from the Crypto Keeper. Let's see here. Somebody who's got echo. All right, let me just see here. How about now? Can you hear me okay? Is the echo gone? The doubling effect? So I think I had two inputs going at the same time. Can you hear me okay now? Awesome. All right, so let me make sure that's fixed on all the platforms here. Let me just steer. Let's see. All right, I think we're good on all the scenes here. All right, so let's jump into this. So let's talk about another stable coin that has gone to zero, okay, as a result of another DeFi exploit. Okay, so we've seen some pretty bad stories with stable coins, particularly this year in the crypto space. Okay, crypto has had a pretty brutal bear market since the beginning of the year, and one of the big factors that exacerbated the sell-off just a few short months ago was the Terra Luna disaster. Okay, so we saw the entire Terra ecosystem essentially evaporate, basically the biggest part of the entire network. TUSD, all right, was an algorithmic stablecoin that really just lost its peg and went straight to the graveyard and took the entire ecosystem with it. And we're talking about a top 10 cryptocurrency that just fell out of the ranks overnight. So much money was completely erased from the entire crypto market cap. And, that had a lot of people wondering, like, are these algorithmic stablecoins safe? Are stablecoins at all safe? What are the risks associated with these? And here we have another story of a stablecoin that has pretty much overnight just gone to zero. Okay, so what is this? What has happened? Do I expect this to be something like the Terra Luna disaster, which we saw just a few months ago? So let's go ahead and get into the details here. So DeFi platform Akala, all right, was a project that is over on Polkadot, okay, and the stablecoin has fallen 99% after an attacker just prints $1.3 billion in cryptocurrency out of thin air. $1.3 billion of token, 1.3 billion tokens, which for a stablecoin is $1.3 billion, sending the entire stablecoin essentially to zero. So we've seen this in the past. DeFi exploits take multiple shapes and sizes. We've talked a lot about bridge exploits, okay, recently. As one of the most common things, but we've also seen vulnerabilities in stablecoins themselves that have been pretty big risks as well. So, in a lot of the exploits, you can do one or two things. You can either, it's not one or two things, but two common things are actually, taking funds, moving them from a place into your own custody that you did not have before. But another way is basically just to create money out of thin air. We've seen that with a lot of the bridge exploits, and that's exactly what has happened in this particular stablecoin exploit. So a bug in the protocol's newly deployed IBTC AUSD. So that's Akala's stablecoin. Liquidity pool left the door wide open for hackers to exploit. So a Polkadot-based decentralized finance platform, Akala's native stablecoin, AUSD, depegged on Sunday, plummeting 99% after they printed these things. Basically, The developer said that the bug was caused by a misconfiguration in the liquidity pool shortly after it went live on Sunday. So, if you don't know what a liquidity pool is, it's basically just this giant reservoir of money that powers a DeFi application, and funds are usually parked there to earn passive income to help power the application. That's usually other people stake the funds in order to do that. So basically, after the team disabled the transfer functionality, the erroneously minted AUSD, all right, that still remained on the Akala network. But at that point, basically, like, it's too late. All right, they have basically a function that can freeze the funds, but at that point the damage is done. I mean, the stablecoin has gone to zero. I mean, yeah, that might mitigate the risk of the attacker being able to use the coins to do something with them, but at that point, like, the project is toast. So anyways, basically the wallet that we think is the hacker still contains 1.27 billion AUSD tokens, although that's not really worth $1 billion anymore. All right, it's worth a really tiny fraction of that. This same person allegedly stole thousands of dollars of DOT also from the liquidity pool. At this point, though, thousands of dollars worth of DOT is pretty small potatoes compared to nuking this entire stablecoin into the ground. So anyways, AUSD held its soft peg to the US dollar until the attack, okay? But then after the attack, the price plummeted basically to zero. All right, so let's kind of go over this and what this means, for stable coins, for all this type of stuff. Do I think this is as bad as the Terra Luna disaster? Now, there's a lot of people out there who are either involved in Terra, okay, involved in Terra Luna, maybe held the stable coin, or maybe just held some Luna tokens, or were just around while the entire space was collapsing, largely due to what was happening in that ecosystem. And so there's a lot of PTSD out there of like, oh, is this going to happen again? Like, what are we going to do? So there's good news and bad news. And bad news is it's never good when you see these type of things blow up. That's the bad news. And if anybody's watching this was involved in that, then definitely, we want to be very, very careful and very sensitive to that. But the good news is, I don't think this is going to be anything close to the magnitude of a Terra Luna collapse in terms of its impact on the entire crypto space. So why is that? For one of two things. First of all, this is not my understanding. This is not, well, I'll put it this way. One or two things. Number one, this is not another like algorithmic stablecoin blowing up like Terra, okay, where we didn't have all these massive FOMOing into this type of thing and this ecosystem and like promotion from like top accounts getting the most of the crypto space into it. Like, I'm not talking about a top project here. And then for another reason is we don't see the same type of exposure level and all these other people like leveraged into this thing like we did with Terra and Luna, the Terra Luna stablecoin situation. Okay, so I don't think we're going to see a situation where like we had multiple funds exposed to this type of thing, and then whenever this thing goes to zero, you have all these mass liquidations and contagion risk to the broader ecosystem. I really don't think that we're anywhere close to that type of situation, but this is definitely something to watch out for. So how can you keep yourself safe? Because I mean, number one is this. There's always going to be risks associated with interacting with especially these newer protocols in the DeFi ecosystem. A lot of people will want to go move around from chain to chain, try out these things, try to get some upside in these opportunities. But what you have to understand is like there's all these new stable coins and all these different ecosystems. You got AUSD, you got BUSD, you got all these different, stable coins, so that you can get in these ecosystems. And a lot of them have these incentives behind them where it's like, okay, we're going to issue a stable coin, then we're going to give you, liquidity mining incentives for you to use our stable coin and then park it into our protocol and earn a passive income that way. But you have to understand, like, there's always risks of holding stable coins, okay? There's always risks of holding stable coins. So how do you mitigate? How do you mitigate that risk? Number one, you could just not use stable coins at all, okay? But the problem with that is, you're exposed to volatility in crypto prices, okay? Some people, there's this massive sort of like risk curve. I mean, some people like on the most conservative end, like they only want to hold Bitcoin because they don't trust anything else, right? And then, but you can't really do a lot with Bitcoin other than just hold it and send it around and maybe pay for stuff, okay? But, you take that to the next level. Let's say you wanted to use it in DeFi. Okay, well, you could hold ETH, all right? You could hold Ethereum or Ether, so you would still have price volatility in both those situations, right? So you take that next level, it's like talking about stable coins, where if you want to mitigate the volatility or remove the volatility, you have to go to a stable coin. But which stable coin do you use? Each one's got its own potential set of risks, right? There's a lot of people who are still very concerned about what's going on with Tether, okay? You got DAI, all right? This is a decentralized stable coin. You still got risks associated with that because it's run by DeFi, okay? You've got USDC. You've got these algorithmic stable coins that have not ended well. Then you've got all these new stable coins that come out with these liquidity mining incentives. So most of the time, a new stable coin is probably going to be the least safe. All right. And none of them are safe by any stretch of the imagination, like completely safe, like never have any risk associated with them. But if you're going to use a stable coin, know that the ones that have been around longer, okay, and this is not advice to tell you to use it necessarily, but so that you can make your own decisions, like ones that have been around longer and have not suffered these types of exploits are more likely, to not have these same types of vulnerabilities associated with them. And in the sense of like this really small, obvious like problem or something could have just been minted out of thin air, right? Like that's probably not going to happen with a stablecoin like USDC, for example, okay? Where the entire market cap essentially gets diluted into oblivion and essentially the stablecoin goes to zero, loses its peg. That's what it does. So, that's probably not going to happen with a major stablecoin like USDC. But then it could have its own set of risks associated with it, right? So anyways, long story short, I don't think this is going to be the same level of disaster as a Terra Luna situation, but you do have to be very safe. And the last thing I'll say about this is, going back to what happened with Terra Luna, like that was an algorithmic stable coin. And so how's that different from other stable coins? Well, most of the original stable coins like, Tether, USDC, DAI, are based upon backing, like collateral that backs up the value of the stable coin. And, with ones, like the whole idea is you have a stablecoin issuer, and that stablecoin issuer really supposed to have reserves where you can redeem the tokens 1-to-1 for whatever currency it's pegged to. In the same case, most stablecoins is the US dollar, so you should have dollar or dollar equivalents to where you can satisfy those redemptions. Okay, DAI does it with cryptocurrency, does it with DeFi. You can emit DAI. So anyways, the algorithmic stablecoins are a whole different beast where they try to use fancy mechanics to hold the peg to the US dollar, and those are notorious for blowing up, and those are going to be some of the riskiest stablecoins out there. So that's another thing to watch out for. Mostly algorithmic stablecoins and a lot of the new stablecoins that are offering like liquidity mining incentives that have not stood the test of time, that have like some of these vulnerabilities associated with them. Always be wary of those. Somebody says somebody's still worried about USDT. There's lots of worries about other stable coins as well. People have been worried about Tether for years, about the backing, whether it's actually backed by what they say it is. Okay, that's been the typical Tether FUD for years now. Somebody says DAI is not algorithmic; it's crypto backed. It's not nearly as fragile. I don't think I said DAI was. If I said DAI was algorithmic, then I misspoke. I've never thought that DAI was algorithmic. It works with DeFi, where basically, I remember when DAI came out. That's a long time ago. So DAI started out where basically you had Ether and you could mint DAI. It was really like first of its kind. Okay, honestly, some people might argue with me, but I think DAI basically invented DeFi. So I mean, we had other stuff come out after that, but DAI was. I mean, I think unless somebody else can give me a better example, I can't think of an earlier project than DAI in terms of. I mean, I guess you could call ICOs DeFi, but we don't really do those as much as we used to. It hasn't been a really lasting technique. But anyways, DAI started out with Ether, and then you had a bunch of Ether, and you collateralized it, and you took a small percentage of that Ether value, and you minted a stablecoin, and it had this backing where you could redeem it from the Ether. The DAI has, evolved over the years to become multi-collateral, where you can use other cryptocurrencies to back that up, and you can always see how DAI works. It's transparent. It's on chain. We've seen some FUD around DAI recently because USDC is part of the collateral for DAI as well. Okay, and we've seen some FUD around USDC with the recent sanctions, okay, blacklisting of addresses, particularly with protocols like Tornado Cash, which were sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury. Of course, USDC does have blacklisting features associated with it, and those addresses were blacklisted, and people are worried about the decentralization of DAI itself because, USDC is a part of the equation when you're talking about the actual assets that back that up. Somebody says AUSD was a mint bug and will be burned. Principal guy already went forward on Twitter to send it all back. His transactions to send back are failing due to something pause. Not the same thing at all. Well, I'll put it this way. There's no way this project's coming back to life. Once you go from $1 to essentially zero, it's toast. Especially once trust in the asset is lost, you can't regain it. Yeah, most of the time, right? Like once you have that type of vulnerability, yeah, it's toast. So somebody's about Ethereum proof of stake. So yeah, let's go ahead and check into that. So we do have the Ethereum merge coming up. Let's actually see. We have an accelerated timeline now. So the Ethereum merge, is the biggest event, really in crypto's history in the past several years. I mean, really since the Beacon chain went live, in my opinion. Okay, we got some updates within the last week that is now scheduled for roughly September 15th. So this has to do with the difficulty of the Ethereum network. Okay, I'm gonna pull up the chart here. We have this thing called the total terminal difficulty, which basically is the difficulty that takes to produce blocks on the Ethereum network. Okay, and that will reach the total terminal difficulty, which is the point at which the blockchain actually transitions. That's when the merge happens, which we set the total terminal difficulty. That's a tongue twister right there. Is the threshold for which the blockchain actually transitions to proof of stake. So basically, we have two blockchains set up right now. The one that you're using in news today is Ethereum 1.0. Basically, I know that's not the cool kid terminology anymore, but it's still terminology a lot of people understand. Ethereum 1.0, the one you use now. And then basically, the proof of stake blockchain is the Beacon chain. It's live. It's just producing blocks right now. You're not really able to use it. They're going to merge together. Essentially, the consensus layer of ETH 2.0 is live over here. It's in a different engine, and we're swapping the engine while the airplane's flying. So when does that happen? Well, it happens at a certain difficulty threshold, which the difficulty is going up right now. Okay, and once we reach this total terminal difficulty, that's when the switch is going to happen. After after the Bellatrix upgrade goes live on the Ethereum network pretty soon. Okay, so the upgrade is what happens to say, yeah, okay, we're ready for this thing to go live. All right, it's got the actual software implemented inside of it, and then after that is the upgrade that says, hey, at this particular difficulty level, go ahead and switch on proof of stake. Okay, that's kind of an oversimplification, but that's the idea. Okay. And so essentially we can track that and we can estimate when that's going to happen. Now it's an estimate because there's nothing hard coded into the blockchain that says on this date and time make this happen. We do it based upon certain values. So like if you're programming smart contracts, you might have seen this where you can like use block timestamps and like, you know about how long it takes for a new block to be created on Ethereum, and then you just do the math to try to forecast a date in the future, and you can estimate it. Well, that's a pretty common technique, but in this case, we're going to actually look at the network difficulty and say whenever that happens. So we don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but based upon the calculations, there's lots of different variables that affect this, but based upon some, a reasonable assumption is about September 15th or September 16th, which is only 31 days away. So really, that's like a month, right? So, I mean, August, we're in August right now, right? And August has 31 days. So there's only 30 days to September, but, basically the entire length of August is the amount of time between now and the merge. So that's huge, right? That's coming up quick. And we've seen lots of questions like, are we going to get free Ether out of this? And we see more and more talks of an Ethereum proof of work fork. Okay, so we'll see if this actually takes place. So we see more and more support for Ethereum fork post-merge. All right, so what is this? Well, basically, anybody could theoretically run Ethereum right now. Like, Ethereum is open source software. Really, the software for it is just the client software that describes how a node works and how the nodes talk to one another and how you create a network based upon that software. Okay, so theoretically, anybody could do it. Like, if I just sent out a direct message on YouTube or Twitter or something like that, and I got a few people, to agree to do it, we could all just fork Ethereum and then run our own blockchain, okay? But the problem is, you have to get a lot of people to do that, right? In order for the network to actually be worth anything. A blockchain with 3 nodes isn't really worth it. Like, who's going to use it? That's not really decentralized or secure, okay? But if you get a lot of people to use it, then, you're talking about potentially, potentially making that viable, okay? Now, it's not like nobody's going to care if we just have this new copy of Ethereum running that doesn't do anything different. But the whole point here is forking Ethereum, bootstrapping a network, and keeping proof of work turned on. So what does that mean? Well, basically, if that's what Ethereum's consensus layer is right now, it does mining. You have miners with proof of work, okay? And, after the merge, like, miners are going to be obsolete on the Ethereum network itself. And there's less and less blockchains out there that are actually going to support mining. Of course, Bitcoin still supports mining. Ethereum Classic supports mining. We have others, right? But the big daddy, right, ETH, the miners are just going to go away. So, we're seeing a bigger push from the mining community to fork Ethereum and keep proof of work turned on so that we have this legacy copy of the Ethereum chain that does not become proof of stake. And then you'll have 2 new blockchains. Well, 2 blockchains, one new one, and then the kind of remaining Ethereum. I guess you really could call it 2 new blockchains, and the Ethereum that you know and use today just doesn't exist anymore. But you have 2 new blockchains that share a common ancestry. Okay, because, we're seeing lots of talks by the mining community to fork Ethereum and, like, take out things like EIP 1559, which was a major upgrade that happened. My memory is, like, starting to get kind of crazy. I believe it was last year. It was last year, about a year ago. Desire to do things like that. So it wouldn't be the exact same Ethereum that you have right now. It would, like, keep proof of work on, take out, EIP 1559. So there's a bigger push to do that. So that brings the possibility, if you hold Ethereum now and this forks, like, having basically free cryptocurrency on this new network because the entire state history gets copied over. Okay. So that's the possibility of what that would mean for the end user here. Now, there's lots of pushback to this because, number one, in order for that blockchain to be viable, like people have to actually want to use it, right? So if you have a blockchain that supports mining, like one of the reasons that the Ethereum Ether, the actual cryptocurrency, is valuable itself is because people use the network. You know what I mean? So if you have a network that's got all these applications on it, but like, nope, like why would people use that old version of Ethereum? Like the miners have incentive to run it, but why do the users have incentive to use it other than just like dump their ETH that they got for free and then walk away? Well, you could always say that there's new projects that pop up and then new ecosystems, new liquidity mining. I get that. It's a total replay of everything that happens where you just have shiny object syndrome and now you have like a new environment to do that in. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has staying power, right? It could have short-term hype associated with it, all right? But once that hype dies down, it could be like every other layer one competitor that comes out and issues a shiny new coin and then gets like nuked into oblivion. I'm not saying everybody who does that is going to have long-term failure, but there's a high probability that that's the same outcome that happens here, because you have this other problem with ETH. The Ethereum network and its network effect, which is all the applications and coins on top of it and things like that. Like, let's say you had a stable coin like we're talking about before, like a stable coin issuer, like, USDC, for example. Well, USDC is going to exist on a legacy Ethereum fork, okay? But is it actually going to be worth $1? Because, Circle's not going to, like, just say, all right, yeah, just go, give me your ETH proof of work, USDC. I'll give you money for that. They're not going to do that, right? And let's say you got free coins on, this new ETH fork. Where are you going to trade them, right? Like, you're not going to be able to just like send them to a major exchange if they don't support it, right? And what I've always said is like smaller exchanges will have the incentives to support this new ETH, fork. But are you actually going to have any liquidity to be able to swap those coins? What are you going to swap them to? Are you KYC'd on that exchange? Is it actually reputable? Like, what are you going to do? If you try to swap it in DeFi, like so much of the DeFi stuff relies upon oracles. Are those oracles going to work on this new network? Like, okay, if you want to swap, say they do work and you want to swap your new free tokens, are you going to be able to go to a stable coin? Will those stable coins actually work? Like, what are you going to do? So there's all kinds of questions here. And also for people who hold their coins on exchanges, let's say you held Ether and like, I'm going to get free ETH for this new thing. Well, if all your ETH is sitting on Binance, like you're not going to get a thing because, Binance is not just going to credit you with coins because you don't actually hold them in your wallet. You just have an IOU inside your Binance account. So, anyways, so those are the critical aspects of this particular fork, okay, and what could happen. Again, we're seeing lots of miners continue to push for this. I think it can happen, but the real question is what's the viability of it, right? Because in the day, if you don't have people paying fees on that network and not actually using it, like the viability of mining is going to go down because miners basically get paid two ways. They get paid by the block subsidies, new coins created by the blockchain, okay, but also from the fees of the people who use the network. And if you just got a network with empty blocks, after a while, that doesn't become as viable anymore from a mining standpoint or a user/decentralization standpoint. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Are we actually going to see this fork happen? Are we going to get free coins? If you get free coins, are you actually going to be able to get money out of them? So the question is, do I think the Ethereum merge will be a non-event like Bitcoin having no fireworks, just numbers on a screen, new money, don't really understand, I'm waiting for a pump, get bored, then dump. It's hard to say it's going to be a non-event. So we can kind of segue into the crypto prices right now, okay? So it's hard for it to say it's going to be a non-event because, we've basically already seen ETH over 2x off the lows. So the merge, and I think a lot of that's got to do with the merge. So why do I think that? Well, you could say, well, yeah, but the entire crypto market's also, kind of recovered somewhat. All right, Bitcoin was dipped far below 20K. Is back up, up $24,000. Just taped above $25,000 early this morning. Lots of other cryptos are back up. You can say that's got nothing to do with the merge. Well, you can say it's got more to do with what's going on in the broader economy, the stock market, correlation with the S&P 500, all that type of stuff. But if you look at like the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, okay, this is the ratio of the Ether price to Bitcoin. Okay, you divide the two prices in order to get the ratio. When the ratio is higher, all right, it means that Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin in terms of price. And we've seen, the ETH to BTC ratio basically rocket since July, which means ETH has outperformed Bitcoin since July. And, July is really when we kind of started entering into the home stretch for the Ethereum merge. And so I think the merge has had an impact in particular on ETH, the asset itself. I think that if we weren't in, the merge sort of home stretch here, we would not see the same performance in the ETH price that we've seen over the past, 6 weeks or so. Okay, so, I mean, I don't think we can say the merge is a non-event because it already is an event for the Ethereum price. Now, that being said, what's going to happen from here? Like, are we just going to double again in price before the merge? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know the answer to that question. In terms of what's going to happen to the ETH price after the merge, is it going to be a non-event like the Bitcoin halving? I think that's the question of one of the big things people are excited about with the merge is the triple halving or the Ethereum, the ETH issuance getting cut in half 3 times to where there's now a greater supply side impact on the actual economics and supply of Ether, right? Is that just going to make ETH rip off to infinity? I don't think that, it's a tricky question, right? Because that's what people expect from the Bitcoin halving happens. Like, okay, now Bitcoin supply is going down when new blocks created by half, right? It's Bitcoin halving. And, people have superstitions that that's what causes the crypto cycles and that you have these delayed response to that type of stuff. And usually whenever the halving goes off, you don't see this explosion in price. Well, it's hard to say what's going to happen right now at the ETH price based on where we are in the actual market cycle, okay? So let's just say that ETH does continue to rip higher after the merge, okay? I don't necessarily think that you could say that the actual supply side economic part of the ETH merge is the sole factor for that, okay? I think it will take time to actually see the supply side issuance of ETH to really make a meaningful impact on the price. But it is a better situation than ETH being inflationary on an annual basis to the tune of about 4%. Okay, this is going to be deflationary, assuming the network activity stays the same, which I expect it to over time. Especially when the merge doesn't go smoothly, ETH will tank. I think that's probably true. The moon, the stars, next galaxy. Yeah, it's all that. It's so funny. For some reason, when this person said stars, I looked at my background right here, and I was like, we should put some stars on there. Make it look like, was it the Rolls Royce? Is it the Ghost? Is that the one that's got the, you can get the star interior? That'd be cool to do on the backdrop back here. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so that more people learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there, like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. Just put out a brand new one on all the hottest Solidity topics. We put out a 4-hour Solidity course, so definitely check that out if you're trying to get your hands dirty today. If you like that and you want to the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can share a master blockchain step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. I can show you how to master the in-demand skills, land your first job. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for